So, we're going to tackle a huge question today, one that philosophers and scientists have wrestled with for, well, forever. What does it actually mean to be human? We're going to explore a really fascinating framework that looks at the difference between our physical bodies and that spiritual spark that truly makes us who we are.
I mean, really think about it. We've got bodies, right? Flesh, bone, organs, just like so many other creatures on this planet. We're born, we breathe, we have kids. But is that it? Is that the whole story? Well, this perspective we're diving into today says not even close. It suggests our biology is just the starting point, the vessel, and our real essence is something way, way deeper.
So, to really get this, we've got to go right back to the beginning, to the raw materials, you could say. And that starts with a concept called bashar.
Okay, so this word, bashar, in Arabic, it literally means something like flesh or skin, even clay. And in this context, it's referring to the purely biological, totally physical human form. It's the body, plain and simple, seen as a material thing crafted from the stuff of the earth.
So, what are we talking about when we say bashar? We're talking about a body, a collection of cells and matter that's alive, that can reproduce. But here's the absolute key. This form is missing a divine spirit, a ruh, and because of that, it doesn't have an innate sense of right and wrong. Some interpretations even see this as a kind of human-like creature that existed before us, a biological predecessor. Okay, so we've got this physical form, the bashar. But this is where the story takes a huge, dramatic turn. This is where the divine spark comes in. And we're not talking about some slow, gradual change here. Nope. This was a single, definitive moment, an event that completely changed the game for the entire human story. This idea really hinges on a key verse from the Quran. It describes God fashioning the bashar and then breathing into it his ruh, his spirit. And this act is so profound, so important, that the angels are actually told to prostrate to this new being. That's the moment of transformation right there. So, what exactly is this ruh? You can think of it like a divine breath. It's the non-physical spark that takes that biological form and elevates it. It's where our spiritual awareness comes from, our conscience, our ability to connect to something bigger than just the material world around us. And what happens when you add this divine spark? Well, something totally new emerges, a complete human being. And this new being is called an insan. It's actually a pretty simple formula when you think about it. You take the physical body, the bashar, you add the divine spirit, the ruh, and boom, you get an insan. It's that combination of matter and spirit that creates what we really think of as a human. So what did this divine spark actually do for us? What did we get? Well, it wasn't just life. It was a whole new level of being. It's what gives us a conscience, that inner voice that knows right from wrong. It gave us our spiritual capacity, and with that, our free will, the ability to choose. And finally, it instilled in us something really special called fitra. Fitra is such a cool concept. It's basically our innate moral and spiritual compass. It's this idea that every human soul is born in a pure state, naturally leaning towards truth, goodness, and recognizing the divine. It's almost like a spiritual factory setting that we all come with. All right, let's really nail this down. Let's put these two ideas, bashar and insan, right next to each other so it's crystal clear. You can see the difference pretty clearly here, right? On one side, you have bashar, the body without the spirit, just biological life. This could be where things like ancient fossils fit in. On the other side, you have insan, the whole package, the body plus the spirit. That's a being with moral consciousness, the lineage of Adam. It's the difference between just matter and matter brought to life with a divine spark. Now, you might be wondering, okay, this is interesting, but how does all this square with what we know from science, the fossil record of early humans? Well, this framework actually offers a really compelling way for the two to fit together. This is where it gets really clever, because by making that distinction between the biological bashar and the spiritually aware insan, you suddenly have a space where the existence of pre-Adamic human-like beings makes perfect sense. The fossil evidence doesn't have to contradict the story. It can actually be seen as a part of it. So the general understanding goes something like this. Adam is considered the very first insan, the first being to receive the ruh and kick off the story of spiritually conscious humanity. That means those ancient fossils of, say, Neanderthals or other hominids, they could be seen as the remnants of Bashar.
And every single human born since Adam inherits that very same spirit-infused nature.
And some modern thinkers are taking this even a step further. They suggest that Adam could represent that exact moment in history when a biologically ready form, maybe an early Homo sapiens, was chosen to receive that divine consciousness, marking the real dawn of humanity as we know it.
So when you boil it all down, the idea is this. What makes us special, what makes us uniquely human, isn't just our clever hands or our big brains. It's not just our biology. It's that divine spark, that sacred breath that lives inside each and every one of us.
And that really leaves us with one last big question to think about. If every single person out there, no matter who they are, where they're from, what they believe, if every person carries this same divine spark, how does that change the way we see the world? And maybe more importantly, how does it change the way we see each other?